Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 1 in GRU1211, English for Health Professionals 2. This first module is 3 weeks covering the topic of personal health and well-being. And what we are going to do is focus on a thing called the Essence program, which was developed by Dr. Craig Hassad at Monash University and is taught as a health enhancement program to undergraduate medical students and undergraduate physiotherapy students. I hope you took the opportunity to look through the before lecture tasks and reading in your workbook, because that sets the scene for what health and well-being are all about before you even start. So, what is Essence? Essence is an acronym. That means that each of the letters in the word essence stands for a word. And as we go through the next 3 weeks, you will become familiar with what the words stand for. What we will do is we are not going to have time in 3 weeks to do all 7 letters of the essence word. We are going to focus on the first E, which is education, the first S, which is stress management, the second E, which is exercise, and the N, which stands for nutrition. So what do we hope to achieve this week? At the completion of this week, we hope that you'll be able to describe the Prochaska and Di Clemente cycle. We'll be able to demonstrate SMART goal setting, and again, SMART is an acronym, and we will look later in the lecture at what SMART stands for. And hopefully you will be able to apply the motivational grid. You will be SMART goal setting for yourself and applying the motivational grid in your tutorial later in the week. So the session outline, we're going to think a little about education. We're going to think a lot about behaviour change and what that means for lifestyle modification, because lifestyle modification is often what is required for people to be able to avoid chronic illnesses such as heart disease, diabetes, and also to manage those diseases once they get them. To do that, we can use a model called the Prochaska and Di Clemente cycle to see where people are at in a change cycle. We can help them set SMART goals, and we can help them to look at what might help them change and what might stop them changing by using a motivational grid. So Essence, as I said, there is a whole book about the essence of health written by Dr. Hassad, and essentially from his perspective it's 7 pillars for good health and well-being, and those pillars are listed on this slide. As I said, we will only be looking at education, stress management, exercise and nutrition in this 3 weeks. So if we start thinking a bit about behaviour change, most of us have at some time in our lives needed to go through behaviour change. Perhaps we've put on extra weight and we need to lose it, so we need to change what we eat. How much we eat, how often we eat, what we eat. Maybe we've realised that we need to exercise more, so we've had to make a plan and have time in our week to actually get the exercise done. Maybe we've decided we need new study habits. Maybe we're a smoker and we've decided we need to stop. There are many, many reasons people change. Is it easy? Think about a change that you've tried to implement in the past. Was it successful? If it was successful, was it easy? Or was it actually quite difficult? Were there things in your life that actually meant that it was quite hard to change a behaviour that was a habit? And what are those things? What are the things in people's lives that make the behaviour change process either easy or hard? Think about your own situation. What things support you when you want to make a change? What things tend to stand in your way? Why do we even want you thinking about this? Well, for yourselves, for your own health and well-being, there may be behaviours, health behaviours, that need to be changed at the moment in order for you to reach what we call optimal health, which is the very best health that you can have and the best well-being. And the two are connected. So we would like you as a student to be successful. Part of being successful in your life is being healthy. Part of being healthy is to undertake health-promoting behaviours. And those health-promoting behaviours are things like getting enough sleep each 24-hour cycle, eating the right things, the things that promote physical and mental health, exercising so that your body and your mind feel ready for what's going to come in your life. There are lots of other health-promoting behaviours that you will learn about as you go through your programs here. That's just some indicators of what some of the important ones are. So, what do people need to be able to get hold of these health-promoting behaviours? They need education, first of all. They need to know a little bit about how the body works, and they need to know a lot about what makes the body work at its best. So what does good nutrition look like? What does the right amount of exercise look like? How can I actually be as well as I can? If I can pose a question to you, if research tells us that exercise is good for health, that it actually makes people well, then how can we encourage ourselves and others we come in contact with to exercise more? Would we say the same thing to our sister about exercising as we would say to our mothers? Would we suggest the same exercise to our brother as we're going to suggest to our sister? So these are often some of the things that we need to think about in order to help ourselves and others change our behaviours. Because the change is very individual. Everybody is different. Even people in the same family are different. So behaviour change can be quite difficult in that we all have social situations that may interfere with, and sometimes help, us to go through the change. No one method of change and no one strategy for reaching a goal for change is going to suit everybody. We have to really think about and listen to what is going to help people to do this. Now, one of the things we need to think about is, is there some theory? Is there some guidance for us about how people change that can help us? And the answer is yes. There are many, many theories about behaviour change that work on different levels, individual, social and broader community levels. We're thinking about individuals here. And one key theory that has actually been used in many areas of health is the Prochaska-Di Clemente cycle of behaviour change. This is also called the stages of change model. And what it does for us is it gives us an idea of the cycle that people go through when they're actually trying to change from one current action to a new action. The model is used, as I said, across lots of different areas and works very well for very specific behaviours. So smoking is a very good example of a change that can be made using this cycle as a guide, because what the cycle does is it tells us how we can help people when they are at a certain stage. The process, although it is a cycle, people can go backwards in the cycle as well as forwards. Okay, so they start off from an area where they're not thinking about change, and if it's successful, they go through to an area called maintenance, where the new behaviour is now the habit. Along the way, they can go back to other points in the cycle and then forward again. They can also get down to the maintenance area, and then go back to the old behaviour in a thing called relapse. This should not be looked at as failure, but as a learning experience. Now, the way to understand this particular model is to apply it to yourself. So in the tutorial this week, you will get the chance to choose a behaviour and apply this particular model to it. So here is the model. You will see that it has a number of points around it, and we start over here in the pre-contemplation stage. So here, contemplation means thinking about something. So if we are pre-contemplation, it's before even thinking about there being a problem of any sort. So maybe the person is not educated about how this action they're doing may affect health. Maybe they know, but they're not thinking about a change. Once they're thinking about the change, they are here in contemplation. So now they actually have in mind an idea that, yes, I think change might be something I have to start considering. If they continue to move forward in the cycle, and it's not a guaranteed thing, they may go back to pre-contemplation. But if they move forward, they have made a decision. They have decided on the change, and they now actively plan. They think about what they have to do to actually make that change occur. So at this point, this is often where people are setting their SMART goals and looking at the motivational grid to see what might help them make the change, what might stop them making the change. Once they get through that decision point and planning phase, they then move on to acting. So they start to actually do something different. So the behaviour starts to be changed. If it's a smoker, they will have actively done something to try and either cut down their cigarette intake. They may be using medication to assist with replacing their nicotine. Could be lots of things, but they are actively doing something different towards their goal of stopping smoking. If that all happens successfully, then they move into maintenance stage, where they're able to actually carry out the new behaviour fairly regularly. If you are giving up smoking, that means that you are not smoking any longer, and you are able to resist the temptation to smoke in most situations. However, we have over here a red area, and this red area is called relapse. Now, what relapse means is going back, and some people will go back to a previous stage in the cycle at any point. So maybe they've started planning for something, but then something else comes into their life that they can't manage at the moment, so they forget about that change for now and go back to the contemplation or the thinking stage. Maybe they've been round in maintenance. Let's talk about this smoker again. And something happens in their life where they feel they need the support, if you like, of smoking again. Because many people look at smoking as a stress manager, which it isn't, but that's how they view it. So what they will do is, under extreme stress, they may go back to the smoking habit. So they relapse, maybe right back to the contemplation point or even pre-contemplation. Relapse is not failure. Relapse is a way of learning about another thing that might interfere with our ability to make this change. The next series of slides look at each part of the cycle. First important point to make is that we need to know what stage a person is in, because what we decide to do as health professionals, or what we decide to do ourselves, really is about where we're up to. So if you ask a person, have you ever thought about giving up smoking? And they say, no. Which stage are they in the cycle? That's right, they're in pre-contemplation. They're not even thinking about a change. Now, the reason we need to know the stage is because as health professionals, there are different strategies we can put in place for each stage. The aim being to help the person move from where they are at the moment forward in the cycle. And we need to really think about what are this individual's needs? What is their situation? What are their motivations for doing this? And then really tap into that. So, different things will be important for different people. For students, time is often something that they have real problems with because there are so many demands on their time. For a woman in her 30s, if it's about smoking, it may be that she doesn't want to look old before she's old, and smoking can actually age your skin very quickly. For a 50-year-old man, he may be starting to think about the fact that he's 50, and maybe he needs to start looking after his health so that he doesn't have a heart attack too early in his life. So this next few slides goes through what I've said before about each stage. I am not going to go through this in detail. As I said before, pre-contemplation, the person's not even thinking about a change. So no change is possible. When we get to this point, the person is starting to think about it. They maybe have had some education or something's happened that's made them move to this point. There are strategies for managing that stage. When the person gets to preparation stage or decision stage, then they're putting things in place, ready for the behaviour change. Once they move on from that, they are acting. The person is now doing something different. They have a new behaviour in place. And here what we need to do is actually support what they are doing. Remember, they can relapse at any point in the cycle. And what we need to be telling people is that this is a normal part of the process and should be used as a learning opportunity. So if you've done a motivational grid that has looked at things that might get in the way of the change, maybe this is something you didn't take into account. So you just add it to the grid, you find a way to actually solve that problem. So here's a different way of viewing that cycle in terms of kind of maybe the emotions and what's going on in people's minds when they're in each stage. So if I try to force someone in pre-contemplation, there he is throwing a tantrum. He doesn't want to do it. Then, if he's thinking about it, how can I give him more education and encouragement to move forward? If we're in preparation or decision stage, how can I help with that planning so that he can move forward to action? We're going for it now, we're doing something different, and then move into maintenance. Look how happy he is. He's reached his goal of changing the behaviour. At any point along the way, the poor little guy in the middle, he's not feeling too good about himself because he's relapsed. So we need to support a person in relapse and make sure they understand it as a learning opportunity and not a failure. In order for people to be able to move forward in the preparation or decision stage, both the same stage, research has found that goals need to be set. People need to have a focus. And the goal can't be just any goal. It can't be something big and vague. It has to be something quite focused. It has to have certain attributes or certain things about it that make it easy to reach and aim for. And that would be a SMART goal. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attractive, realistic and timely. And this provides us with a framework in order to be able to construct a goal to maximize the likelihood or the chance that we're actually going to be able to reach our behavior goal. So let's think about this SMART goal in terms of increasing exercise. That's probably a way to do it is for us to think this through. So the goal must be specific, as I said. It's harder to achieve and certainly harder to measure if it's too vague or too big. So if you say you're going to exercise more, what does that really mean? Does it mean you're going to go up the stairs once a day at college? Or does it mean you're going to have a plan for actually walking a certain distance in the evening with a family member on X number of days of the week, which is much more specific? And I can measure whether I did that. I can measure whether I went up the stairs once at college, but maybe that's a fairly meaningless goal. So here's an example of a very specific goal. I plan to walk around the block 5 evenings a week. So, you have a sense of the distance. You may have to, add in there that you're going to try and reduce the amount of time it takes. That can come later. It has to be measurable. So this is the M in SMART. If you can't measure it, you don't know what progress you're making. So that, as an encouragement, is the reason why you put the measurable aspect in. So for our person who thought that they would walk around the block 5 times a week and they only can manage 3 times a week because of other things and other commitments in their life, then maybe they need to either increase their effort, if that's possible, or they need to change their goal. They need to make their goal more realistic. And remember, that was the R in SMART. So without measurement, you can kind of feel like you're getting nowhere or have no way of knowing whether you're getting anywhere. Attractive. If the goal is not attractive, if it's not enjoyable, if it's not something that you think is going to achieve something for you, then, why would you do it? It's not something that's going to be maintained. So maybe walking for you is not that attractive unless you find a way of making it attractive. So what would happen if that walk was with friends and you were chatting along the way? Or with a family member and you were chatting along the way? In the gym. Maybe it's nicer in the gym, particularly in summer, but maybe it's nicer in beautiful surroundings, at the beach, local park, etc. So sometimes you can actually reach more than one goal at a time. It's best to choose something that you actually enjoy. So there is not much point in choosing an exercise method that you know you don't like. I'm not very much of a gym junkie. I don't particularly like going to the gym. My husband does like going to the gym, so I will go with him, and it's kind of something that we have in common and can talk about. So I will go along and do the exercises that I enjoy. I don't enjoy all the ones the trainer's given me, so I avoid them. I don't do them. I do the ones that I actually like to do. The goal needs to be timely. So